Tate, the Black Negotiator. Super excited to be here and celebrate Kwanzaa with you. So for those who don't know, Kwanzaa was creating during the aftermath of the Watts riot in the US. And in tough times, I really love this idea of elevating the best of people. So I decided to celebrate that moment to wrap up 2020. Because as we can all say, at best, 2020 was a challenging year. So over a period of 7 days, I will interview 7 special guests, and each interview's theme will be based on one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Today, I'm super happy to have Andrew, who will talk to us about self-determination, to define and name ourselves, as well as to create and speak for ourselves. Andrew, welcome to the show or to the celebration. Over to you. Can you tell us who you are, where you are, and what you do?
Hey, thank you very much for having me, Claude. Kwanzaa, I love the idea. Thank you so much for doing this and for bringing people together in this way. So I am Andrew Monu. I'm here in London, currently in Northwest London with my family, and I work in tech. I work in marketing and advertising within the tech industry. I've been doing that for quite some time now. I've been doing that for about the last 10 years. Before that, I was in product management. Before that, I was in retail, which we'll probably come on to in a second, because I was working on the shop floor for a long time before I ever made it into a corporate. So in terms of what I do, what I really do is I lead a team across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Latin America. And our job is really about devising a strategy to help us to actually grow in those markets. So that's what I do. That's what I enjoy doing, other than being a dad who, both my 2 kids, I'm going to shame them today. They wet the bed last night, so that's why I haven't slept so well. So if my answers are not sharp, that's why.
You know what? In some ways, I'm sure you hope for your kid that this podcast doesn't become like super big in 10 years. And they'll be like, wow, Dad, you did that to us?
At least I shame them both equally.
First question, let's talk about race. And I love this open-ended question, just to see how people approach it. When someone comes to you and say, let's talk about race, or wants to talk about race, what's your reaction? What's your approach?
I'm sorry. I guess it's just that given the year that we've had, that's probably happened quite a few times. I don't know if it's happened with you. It has happened a lot of times. And I found that my answer is genuinely, if we're going to talk about race, do you want the honest, unadulterated answer, or do you want the soft answer? Because honestly, because I'm now at a point where it's becoming harder and harder for me to give the soft answer. So there are times where if I don't know the person well, I have to check myself and go, hold on a second, where are you? Because I think people are on a spectrum in terms of how happy they are to talk about race and what their comfort zone is. So my first answer is, well, how honest do you want to be? That's literally my first answer. I guess I can expand more on that, but go on if you want to ask.
Let's say if someone tells you, I want the truth, the raw 100% truth, what do you hit them with?
So first off, I should say that people who want to talk about race often have come to me and are different races, right? And so I have had younger people of color want to talk to me about race. They could be Black, they could be Latinx, they could be Asian, and I've had white people, typically more senior or older, wanting to talk about race. For the first crew, I think what tends to happen is that they're basically saying to me, I want to talk to you about this. Am I crazy? That's what they're asking me. They're going, I'm feeling this thing, and this thing is happening to me, and I'm being treated in this way. And I just want to check with you, am I crazy? Because this is what is going through my head. And that tends to be the conversation, or it might be, I want to do this thing and I don't know if I can do it. On the second one, I want to clarify on that, where they actually, in some instances, don't know that it is about race. They are actually saying they can't do something, and it's because they don't realize the structure that's built around them, and the fact that they are not, it's not unusual that they would not have the confidence in this moment to go, okay, I want to make this leap, but I think maybe I can't do it. right? And I'm not basically saying to them, hey, that's about race, but I'm saying, listen, it's not weird for someone of your background to basically be in this moment and go, I don't know if I can do this. So those are two kind of things around race there. The first, then the third one, which is, and I've had as many white people who could be friends or colleagues come and say they want to talk about race. And what I tend to find, I find it very interesting that I get some people who are literally like, listen, I've been reading about this, I've been thinking about this, I want to talk to you about this thing. And it might be, have I been racist? Like, I think that it's literally, am I racist, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, my answer to that is less to do with the thing of, do I behave in a way that makes Black people feel like I'm racist? I kind of end up going, okay, if you think that you might have some inherent beliefs that show up in a way that may make you racist or make you feel like you might be racist, that's something that you definitely, I recommend this book or this thing, go away and figure that out for yourself. The thing I'm really interested in when we talk about race is actually the stuff that matters, which is literally about systemic racism. I am not interested in trying to be anyone's psychologist or around whether they are racist or not. What I'm really interested in, whether it's schools, universities, workplaces, are you as a leader, a manager, a colleague, basically perpetuating something that inhibits other people from achieving some kind of equality or equity within that system? And typically the answer is yes, you are.
Then let's talk about your theme of self-determination. Can you point to something that you've seen recently around a situation or someone that was just really driven or had a lot of self-determination that really inspired you?
Yeah, I mean, there are loads. I guess there's one that I came across, and I didn't know this person personally. This was someone who had actually just graduated from Oxford, and what they had done is they basically tracked back to like the path that took them there. And this is put someone who was basically black, a black male, dyslexic, and brought up in inner city London. And I think the thing I find fascinating about this person's story when they described it, also single parent family, when you add all those things together and you do like a probability, because we do numbers, we know like if we did percentage wise,
Yeah.
even just say single parent family, black kid, odds of getting to Oxford.
Yeah.
Single family, black kid, dyslexic, state school, like odds are shrinking. And what I found fascinating about this person was that you sometimes get the one where I once read like a biography of like Oscar Pistorius and how his mother, Oscar Pistorius, the South African runner, the Blade Runner, who is a Paralympian, and he has a whole load of things about him that are very dodgy, and obviously he's gone to jail for a number of things. But one thing I found interesting was that his mother talked about how she didn't treat him any differently from any other kid. And when he grew up, he knew that he had problems with his legs, but actually he wasn't going to get off scot-free on anything. With this kid, who is now an adult, but when the person was a kid, they knew all of the things that were counting against them as they went through each moment. And what I found fascinating about that is that carries a weight. There's a weight that you carry. If you don't know, then it's kind of okay. It's like when you're running on a treadmill, if you're running at your fastest speed and you don't actually know how fast you're running. But this person knew how hard it was going to be at every single stage, and kept on pushing. And I am massively inspired by that type of, because it is self-determination. Of course, people help this person along the way, but there is no way that you go, oh, the teacher did it, and it's like this person had to go, I want this, right? And for them, it was always something that they felt, despite everything, they were able to push for. And I loved that. I love that. They're not famous. They're not. I saw them on LinkedIn. They posted something, and I was like, share.
Hey, what advice would you give younger Andrew, especially when it comes to self-determination or being driven?
So I guess I have to admit that being driven wasn't necessarily a problem for me when I was younger.
I knew it.
The advice I would give myself is not necessarily about the need to be more driven foundationally, but I think even within me being driven, I still put limitations on myself at that time. So it's funny, I may talk about, hey, I'm driven, and I thought I could do anything. That's not true. I was driven and I knew I wanted to get beyond where I was, but it wasn't really the same as me saying I think I could do anything. And so when there were careers that maybe I could have applied for, like consulting and things like that, which at the time I thought I wanted to do, I didn't even apply, because in my head it was very clear to me that as a Black Nigerian person who was basically an immigrant, and didn't have my papers at that point, it was never going to happen for me. Like they didn't have those people. That was closed off to me. And so the route that I took into a corporate was the right route. I went into a graduate program, and there was lots of learning there, but it wasn't actually my first choice. And actually it came round to haunt me later. So at some point I said, I know this isn't for me. And I now want to go off and do my MBA, join a startup, and that kind of stuff. So my advice would be not to, even in being driven, not to limit yourself, like to allow yourself to go for anything, like just go for it. That would be my biggest thing. Stop closing opportunities. Sorry, long answer.
No, but that's yeah, I think that's a good one, because I think it can be so easy sometimes to just see someone driven, but also how do you have big enough goals? And it's not about being big enough, but how do you have the goals that you really want to go after? Not just like the goals you think will be acceptable to say in public because you are concerned, or I was concerned of the perception that people would have. How do you think that your cultural background impacts the way you negotiate or the way you are being influenced during negotiations?
So this is a great question, actually. So I guess two things. One, I'm Nigerian, and two is my mother. So my mother is what you might see as the quintessential Nigerian who had a primary school education, and from there basically needed to just do business in whatever, like trading this thing, this. And when I say trading, I don't mean stock markets. I mean fulfilling contracts on jam or toilet paper or shoes, like whatever was going. And from her, at an early age, I definitely saw the value and the enjoyment from haggling. Like I can't stop myself when I go with my kids to the fishmonger here in London, and he's offering me like a big kind of snapper or sea bass, and he said a price. I ignore everything he's saying, everything, and I've been going to him for 10 years, so I will say, great, so I would like to pay this price. I cannot stop myself. And it's a lot of it is a Nigerian thing, to some degree, somewhat continental within Africa as well, because there's an informalized culture around coming to an agreement on something. Whereas I think that in Europe, where you have, contracts, constitutions, all these kinds of things, maybe there's a view of, okay, well, this is written, so I should really accept this. So I would say cultural, and my mother, geography, leaving home has not changed my love of haggling.
I love that you actually love it. Like, in my head, I like to go somewhere, I see a price, I pay the price, I'm out. Now, if I don't even have to talk to anyone, even better. Okay, and so what's the best negotiation advice you ever received?
So I have an answer, but I actually don't know where it came from, who gave it to me, but it's definitely something I live by. I think I arrived at a moment, maybe when there was an aggregate of things that led me to this. The biggest thing I have learned in terms of negotiation is to ask. It's actually the thing that I didn't do earlier on in my career. It's a thing I never did. I was always too grateful, or I always felt like I maybe was just lucky to be where I was, or just keep your head down. do not cause any kinds of waves. And also, whoa, what if they say no? Like, then what, right? Because actually, what does that mean? If I ask for something and they say no, it is a rejection of me on several fronts. Is the rejection of my capability. So you have basically confirmed that I thought that I was here, but actually you're going, no. And also, it never stops being personal. Like, so it's never just about my capability. There's also maybe something else about me that, I was looking for validation on, and actually you have confirmed that I was also wrong about that too. And I am now at a point where I just don't care about those things that used to be blockers for me before, because it's fascinating to me the number of things where if I had not asked, it would never even have come up in conversation, ever. And when I did ask, maybe it wasn't always yes, but it was the beginning of a conversation. And for me, negotiation is conversation. That is how I see negotiation. And it can lead to hopefully an agreement of some kind. So the power of asking for something that's not on the menu. Ask for something that's not on the menu, right? And like, why not? So that would be the biggest thing I would say.
Hey, Andrew, thanks again for that great conversation. Thanks for joining the celebration around self-determination to define and name ourselves, as well as to create and speak for ourselves. That's a wrap, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for setting this up, and thank you to all the other interviewees you've had as well. I can't wait to see what they've done. And happy Kwanzaa to you, and look forward to chatting more in 2021.